In a world full of mysterious villains, some are terrifying, while others are just plain goofy. So I decided to rank 16 Gravity Falls villains because, let's be real, who doesn't love a good villain? Let's jump in and see where they all land. It's a tie between Preston Northwest and Bud Gleeful. No surprise, right? Their rankings basically speak for themselves. Preston is the embodiment of the one-dimensional, rich stereotype, always putting his status above everything else. While his wife isn't much better, Preston is still the most responsible for the Northwest family's misdeeds in the show's present day. He lied, manipulated Dipper into doing their dirty work, and even considered cannibalism. Not to mention, he's clearly abusive to Pacifica. It's a kids' show, but I got the hint when he produced the bell to shake at her. I speculate that at some point, Dipper took back what he said to Pacifica about being the worst and redirected it towards Preston tenfold. As for Bud, he doesn't get much screen time in the show, and even in his episode, he's controlled by Gideon for a good portion of it. Both of these characters come across as one-dimensional and very predictable in their actions, which doesn't make them great villains. Unicorn deceive humans for their own amusement, are unwilling to give to others, and even blatantly admitted they're jerks and enjoy messing with people. They just weren't enjoyable. Even Ford commented on how frustrating they are. My favorite thing about the Unicorn episode is that Alex Hirsch was inspired to create it because of how much he disliked the personality, the Unicorn Amalthea, from the last Unicorn. He called Amalthea hilariously arrogant and constantly annoyed by everything, in a tweet. And that's why he made the unicorns in this episode such jerks. It also only took him something like 2 days to write. They were somewhat fun to watch, and they weren't exactly evil, but they were big jerks who practically represented toxic masculinity. They look down on anyone or anything they don't consider manly. They weren't concerned for Dipper's well-being when putting him through their trials, and they were lazy enough to send Dipper to kill the Multibear instead of doing it themselves. Though they helped fight against Bill during Weirdmageddon, it was likely just for their own survival. Pa and Ma have a deep hatred of teenagers. They were mean and furious toward Dipper at first, but their anger diminished when they found out Dipper was technically not a teen, which made them act a lot nicer and sweeter. Ma and Pa used their ghostly powers to close the store and give the teens ironic punishments, speaking through a possessed Mabel Pines, which was very scary. I think we can all relate to their motive on some level. Blendin Blandin risked timelines when he gave the time travel device to Dipper and Mabel to have fun at the carnival. It sounds innocent, but it was a very dangerous thing to do. He really needs to take his job more seriously. He's a decent character, he just wanted revenge, and who can blame him? It's not his desire for justice after his life was ruined by someone else's actions, and partially his own, that makes him questionable or evil. It's the fact that he effectively tried to erase 2 kids from existence, twice. And let's not forget that he's also responsible for the end of the world at one point. The creatures of Gravity Falls are both weird and dangerous. As strange forest spirits, they reflect the age-old lore of fake kidnapping teens. They helped give viewers a good idea of what was to come. His over-the-top persona as an evil and deranged dungeon master might have made him annoying, but also quite entertaining. Besides, it's hard not to be entertained by someone voiced by Weird Al Yankovic. In a show like this, he fit right in. She had some potential. Her transformation from woman to spider was probably one of the most chilling for me, but ended up a disappointment. Her performance wasn't nearly as good as it could have been made to be. She could have been a redeeming quality in an overall weak episode, but was just another weakness to it. After Stan locked them away, they waited 10 years just to seek vengeance on him. When Suze finds them, they come to life once again and attempt to murder Stan, but accidentally decapitate the wax replica of him instead. Imagine if they succeed, that would leave me nightmare for sure. I love the evil wax statues. My favorite is Groucho, because he makes the joke about having nothing in his hand due to Disney not wanting to promote smoking. There weren't a lot of human villains on the show, but he might be the only one I actually find interesting. He's basically an insane cultist leader with the appearance to prove it. He also believed he was doing good by running the Blind Eye Society, when really he just wanted power. That makes for an especially sinister baddie. I really don't like him as a character, but I can accept his antagonistic role as necessary. He was essential to the overall storyline and was better written than some other villains. Gideon was a creep, a stalker, and a manipulative psychopath who forced his will onto others, lied, manipulated, stole, assaulted, mind-controlled, and nearly killed many times. Despite all that, he did pay for his wrongdoings and became better by the end, even if his redemption felt weak. He haunts trick-or-treaters and threatens to devour them if they don't respect rejected loser candy because he happens to be made out of it himself. I also love the Sumerween trickster. First, I love the spooky Halloween atmosphere surrounding him. Second, he's so creepy, and his dramatic movements are just so over the top. Third, in the end, he turns out to be just a big pile of candy that wanted to be loved and be good enough, just like all of us. It's impressive how this character can pass as a worthy horror movie villain while still being a ridiculous monster that fits perfectly into the Gravity Falls lore. By far the most sympathetic villain of the show. Though cursing the Northwest's party guests, not just the Northwests themselves, wasn't necessary, you can't blame him too much. The Northwests were ultimately to blame for it and brought it on themselves. Archibald Corduroy, the lumberjack ghost, freaked me out, even as a teen, especially with the taxidermy animals and the people being turned to wood. I loved those elements. Helping this ghost find peace to lift the curse was a better option than just disposing of him. This thing arguably left a bigger impact than any other monster that had a single appearance. The way he's so conniving and menacing and seeks to escape his prison in the bunker and destroy humanity makes him one of the highest level threats of any creature. What got me was when he morphed into that Dipper Mabel hybrid. That's nightmare fuel for at least a year. And you simply can't go wrong with the voice of Mark Hamill, a worthy contender of being labeled the creepiest villain of the show. I just love her character, how she starts off all nice and in love with Suze and seems good. But then she has a huge fit and goes so crazy for Suze to the point of stalking him on his date and wrecking the restaurant. If that's not intimidating enough, she's also an AI that can hack all sorts of technology in order to pursue her prey. She is just so crazy and scary, and that makes her such an awesome villain. It only goes to show you can't trust virtual girlfriends. An obvious choice, perhaps, but it makes sense. What's ironic about this predictable top pick is that Bill is entirely unpredictable. He offers a mix of evil and deceit, along with absurdity and dark humor. As the show's main antagonist, Bill is one of the most entertaining and sinister villains, with an endgame simply to watch the universe burn. On top of that, every scene he's in makes you nervous. He is constantly scheming or doing something horrible. The narrative treats him seriously, giving weight to every scene he's in. Any encounter with him feels like a life or death situation. I also like how we never quite know what Bill is. Unlike characters like Toffee from Star vs. the Forces of Evil, where more explanation might have been needed, I appreciate the mystery surrounding Bill. His ambiguity allows him to work as any kind of villain: comical, entertaining, crazy, eccentric, intimidating, or powerful. Hell, I'd even argue that he could work as a sympathetic villain, given that he misses his home and puts on a happy front. This versatility is why Bill works so well and stands out as such a great villain. Furthermore, Bill's defeat wasn't contrived, but was well set up throughout the second season and totally believable. He wasn't beaten physically, but outwitted psychologically. His death also led to Stan losing his memory, even if just for 2 minutes, setting up his inevitable return. This keeps the ending open-ended and has the entire fandom hoping for his return, even 5 years after the show ended.